Come outside. Outside.
Who else is in the house, ma'am?
My two children.
Police, come down now!
Search warrant.
Bring your
Come down the
children!
stairs.
My
A
children!
UK grandmother has become the first person in the world to be given the Pfizer COVID-19 jab as part of a massive vaccination program. Over 300 people hospitalized with mysterious illness in India. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you are tuning in. My name is Jonathan Torres Herrera, and you are watching or listening to the JTH show. Today, let's talk about Florida's COVID data scandal, COVID vaccinations officially start in the UK, and a new strange illness appears. But first, roll the intro. All right, and by the way, if you guys don't mind hitting that like button, I would really appreciate it. And if it's not too much to ask, make sure you subscribe with the notifications ring. Also, what really helps me is if you guys don't want to listen here on YouTube, go ahead and listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Radio Public. Really helps the show out. All right, so let's start with the first story, and that is out of an article that I found on CNN, headline, Florida Police Raid Home of Former State COVID-19 Data Scientist. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement executed a search warrant Monday morning at the home of data scientist Rebekah Jones, who was fired by the State Department of Health in May. Before we continue on with the article, Nods, why don't you roll the video clip real quick?
Come outside. Outside.
Who else is in the house, ma'am?
My two children and my husband.
Where's your husband at?
Calm down. Calm down.
You want the children now?
Call them all down.
Mr. Jones, come down the stairs. Now!
Police, come down now!
Search warrant.
Bring your
Come down the
children!
stairs.
My children!
Go ahead, hang on. Let me clear
He
behind you.
just pointed a gun at my children!
Search warrant.
So that video there was posted to Twitter by Rebekah Jones herself, right? It appears that she had security cameras installed in her home. And in a tweet, when she posted that video, there's something that jumped out at me, right? And that is that according to her, on Monday when they raided her home, police pointed guns at her face, and guns were pointed at her kids. The way I look at this, right, is of two ways. You have possibly a former disgruntled employee who, perhaps was doing things out of, spite for being fired. That's one way of looking at it and saying, hey, that possibly could be the problem before you see the video clip, right? Now, that you don't do that to a disgruntled employee. A disgruntled employee, at best, you send him a cease and desist letter. You maybe take them to court, if you need to. But to send over a police raid, in my opinion, it's because there is something there, right? In the same article from CNN, you had allegedly Governor DeSantis' spokesperson who told CNN that the governor's office had no involvement, no knowledge, no nothing of this investigation, which personally I'm going to call bullshit, right? Florida has been notorious for being the state, starting with their governor, that they are not COVID believers, right? You had that one story of the video that I covered where you had a mom, right, who refused to leave a school board meeting. She refused to wear a mask. She put it on live. It was a whole scandal right out of Florida, right? And this is not the first time, again, that Florida has been involved in some kind of issue because of COVID. DeSantis has been, very open about being on the, first of all, with Trump and Trump's administration and downplaying the whole Corona thing. So I'm not surprised. Again, I read this and I'm thinking, oh, okay, fine, disgruntled employee. And then I see the video. I'm like, no way. So what happened back in May? According to Jones, she has had publicly alleged that a superior at the department asked her to manipulate the state data to make it appear Florida was closer to meeting its reopening targets than it actually was. Jones argued that the DOH fired her because of retaliation for her refusal to fudge the numbers and minimize the scandal of the outbreak. To me, this feels more like retaliation, but not by the employee. More like by DeSantis. In addition, I found another article, right, from the Tallahassee.com, Headline, Fire DOH official speaks out, reveals new details of alleged COVID-19 data manipulation attempt. Jones was fired for repeated insubordination and for being disruptive, quote unquote, right? In the same week, Jones was fired. DeSantis said her removal and allegations were a non-issue. Of course he said that. That, by the way, that whole verbiage there, right? It's legal language, right? Of saying, oh, insubordination and disruptive. It's just to cover really any business ass, including any government department, right? From any kind of legal action coming from the employee or former employee, you know, to say that, oh, they were being repeated insubordination. I call BS on that. You know, again, you look at the video and you have to wonder, is this something that requires a raid? I mean, raids you typically hear out of some kind of, you know, illegal activity like, you know, narcotics, you know, problem where they're moving around, you know, or at least someone in the home is guilty or have been accused of dealing with narcotics, drugs, stuff like that. Or, you know what, even trafficking, right? Human trafficking of some sort. None of that here. None of that was present here. This is allegedly a former data scientist who, in my opinion, is a whistleblower. Which then leads to my second question. Shouldn't Jones be protected under the Whistleblower Protection Act, right? But in this case, there is definitely something there that even if the government's office is declining, somebody wanted to cover up. Somebody wanted to keep her quiet. All right, let's move on to the next story, and that is out of the BBC.com headline: COVID-19 vaccine. First person receives Pfizer jab in the UK. A UK grandmother has become the first person in the world to be given the Pfizer COVID-19 jab as part of a massive vaccination program. Margaret Kinnan, who turns 91 next week, said the injection she received at 6:31 GMT was the best early birthday present. More than 60,000 people in the UK have died within 28 days of a COVID positive test. It was the first of 800,000 doses of the Pfizer/BioNTech vaccine that will be dispensed in the coming weeks. Up to 4 million more are expected by the end of the month. Now, the UK is the first country in the world to start using the Pfizer vaccine after regulators approved its use last week. On Tuesday, U.S. regulators confirmed that the vaccine is 95% effective, paving the way for its approved use here, at least for emergency use. When I look at, something like this, I wonder a couple things. If this vaccine ends up being truly effective, it has very little side effects, right? Hopefully, I'm really crossing my fingers here for this one. Why the hell can we do similar action for other vaccines that we need? Why can't we put urgency like we did with this vaccine? You have to understand that allegedly, typically, it takes years. I've heard something crazy like 20 years for a vaccine to truly be rolled out and go through the processes and all this other crap for it to be released to the public, or mass produced first, and then, obviously released, to tackle a number of human diseases, right? But here we have one that, because there are so many government, in my opinion, interests involved, right? Because a lot of people are losing money. And that's what, in my opinion, it comes down to, right? Money. A lot of people in politics have other, businesses outside of what they do, for their governments, and they're losing money, or their rich buddies are losing money. So you know what? Vámonos. We need a vaccine now. Why the hell can't we do something similar for other known existing diseases, right? That are hurting people. Why? So it's possible for the COVID-19 vaccine. Is it going to be possible? Are we going to take the same stance, right, to get shit done, to move things forward when the next disease comes up? I hope so, right? And I think people should hold these governments accountable. All right, let's move on to the last story, and that is one that, it brought a little bit of flashback from, late 2019 to early 2020, and that is when we heard of Corona, right, for the first time. that we heard it was like, oh, in China, in Wuhan. And many people were like, where is Wuhan in China for that matter? Oh, it's over there. It's not over here. And when I mean over here, I mean wherever you live, right? And then you're like, okay, it looks like it's progressing. It's getting bigger. I remember it started with a very small group, right? Again, out of Wuhan, China. This story I found in the abcnews.com website and also on Forbes. The Forbes headline is over 300 people hospitalized with mysterious illness in India. 1 dead so far. At least 345 people in a southern state of India have gone sick and have been hospitalized with the unidentified illness that includes a range of symptoms like seizures, nausea, loss of consciousness, and has led to at least, again, 1 fatality, potentially creating another public health challenge as the region continues to deal with COVID. The sole fatality allegedly is a 45-year-old man who died on Sunday. Now, one thing, right, that I thought about, I'm like, well, hold on, is this just another, mutation of COVID? And then I got to the next point, which is that the cause of the illness has yet to be established, but local authorities said that all the patients currently, 345, have tested negative for COVID-19, ruling it out as a possible cause. Okay, so it's not corona. It's not another version, or at least they don't believe it's another version of COVID, right? The last thing on here that I saw is it appears that some people are speculating that this is being caused by contaminated water supply, which, while it's not better, at least there is some idea of where this is coming from, right? Now, when we first heard of corona, I think a lot of you guys could recall that, eventually we heard that it came out of a market because people were consuming some, an animal that maybe they shouldn't have been consuming, and that's how the infection started. This one is coming out of contaminated water, right? Which I think there still needs to be further investigation, and there still needs to be further information released to the public. So at least we know, what is going on. Is it something that can be spread from human to human, right? Is it truly in the water? Is it in the air? I mean, how is this working out, right? Because 345 people, we're not talking about, a couple dozen, right? We're not talking about a household. We're talking about 345 people. It's more than a neighborhood for that matter, right? And to the point that there has already been 1 fatality, at least personally speaking, again, I'm getting a little PTSD, you may say, from the beginning of the year, from like, hold on. This feels eerily similar to some articles that we saw back in December of 2019, right? In my opinion, I think it is something, world governments should be looking into, should be working with India, right? And saying, hey, how are these people recovering? Again, this is very fresh information. This article came out just a couple of days ago. So, that's my thought on it. I'm going to continue looking into it. And if anything develops out of it, I'll make sure to bring it to you guys. But yeah, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Thank you for staying here, for those of you guys that are still here. And yeah, until next time. See ya. Hey, thanks for watching the JTH show. Remember, you can catch all the episodes, full episodes, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Radio Public. You can also visit www.thejthshow.com to catch episodes there and to catch anything that we had to blur out because of YouTube or any other platform. We usually put all of our raw information in there that is uncensored. You can also become a member at www.thejthshow.com to catch all the special perks. Thanks for watching.